I would like to turn the time back over to Sarah Zhao from DocuSign to walk us through this great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Zhao. I'm a lead product manager at DocuSign. Today, we'll be diving into DocuSign's journey in adopting passkey for the login flow. We will look at the challenges that we have faced, the solutions that we have implemented, and more interestingly, the things that we were able to do to use passkey as a service to unlock other use cases within DocuSign ecosystem. Many of you might know DocuSign is the #1 e-signature solution worldwide. We were also recently recognized as the #1 trusted brand in the United States. Safety and trust is the foundation of everything that we do. That's why we decided to invest in passkey. We wanted to make sure the first step of getting user into the signing ceremony, they feel welcome with a seamless experience, also protected, knowing that they're using the most innovative, the new industry standard passkey to log in. I wanted to talk a little bit more around how passkey fit into our overall trusted brand image and how we were also able to use that to drive down our password reset support costs. For our session, we'll kick off by looking at the challenges, zooming into rolling out passkey to our enterprise customers. Just like many other B2B companies, helping enterprise customers, making sure they're happy is critical to our overall revenue strategy. And I would zoom out a little bit to also talk about the common tactics that we have implemented to roll out passkey to our direct consumer and also our SMB segment. After that, I wanted to talk about the solution we implemented and with the shift of rolling passwordless login, the benefits that we started to see, both in terms of customer satisfaction, also in terms of how we were able to lower our support costs and start phasing out some of the outdated method when it comes to account recovery. Now, after that, I wanted to talk about what is beyond passwordless login, right? As a platform, we don't want to just use passkey for the common login flow. We wanted to see what can we use this to unblock other business opportunity to open up new revenue streams. And that's when I will introduce DocuSign ID Wallet in European market and how we were able to use passkey to fit into the overall picture to help provide a better experience for our customers. Now let's first talk about the challenges that we have faced for our enterprise-grade customers. Enterprise customer is important to any of the B2B company. It plays a crucial role when it comes to our revenue strategy, but it's hard to roll out any kind of update to customers at that scale. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is their hesitance towards adopting novel security solutions. They're hesitant for two main reasons. One is they have established internal change process. Even for existing vendor like DocuSign, every time they need to onboard a new use case or use a new technology, they have to go through their internal change process to get approval. They also have annual pen testing, specifically targeted the authentication component of any kind of software. And those internal process, those pen testings, makes them a little bit hesitant and reluctant to adopt new technology like passkey. So what did we do to help those customers? For our high-impact customer within DocuSign, we have something called a technical customer success manager. For all of those customers, they get a dedicated support team. I make sure I have training materials to train those technical support manager to help us help the customers. I also make sure I train some of the technical support folks to become the subject matter expert. So even though I might be taking time off or my engineering team might be taking time off, they still have someone who can help them answer questions from customers. It's very important when it comes to rolling out a new feature like this. The other thing I wanted to talk about is many of our enterprise customers and our reseller, they rely on automation testing a lot. They have automation script to run through some common happy flow and unhappy flow to make sure their customization of the software works and is up and running. For them, every time we change up the login flow, it's actually a pretty big impact for their automation testing script. Because their script is something like, oh, I'm going to click this UI element, and then something will pop out. I'm going to validate the pop-up mode will actually happen. So it's a little bit, in a way, not as dynamic as we hope it will be. Introducing passkey as part of the login flow sometimes will actually break their test cases and will break their automation testing. But we cannot really plan our releases around that. So what can we do to ease them into like this whole new login flow? There are a few things that we did. One is communicate in the release note ahead of the time. What will be the new CSS UI element? What can we actually do to help them navigate around their test cases, to have them update on time? And also, we decided to stagger new UI component by different releases. We didn't end up renaming or removing any of the existing UI element. We decided to actually postpone revamping the entire login flow in the second and third wave of release, just to help ease our customer into this new login experience. The third thing I would like to mention is the delicate balance of innovation and operational stability. What I meant by that is, I don't know if you guys have been IT support for your parents. I have. It could be a little painful and a lengthy process. On Monday's closing keynote, one of the Microsoft PM actually mentioned a very heartwarming story about helping his grandma Doreen to do password reset. Imagine you have to do that for 6,000 employees within your company. They tend to react to new technology very differently. They might be thinking, what is passwordless login? What happened to my password? Am I getting hacked? Imagine you have to deal with all of those confused employees. They will actually pick up the phone, call their internal DocuSign support team. And guess what? Their DocuSign support team will end up reaching out to DocuSign all the way to the product and engineering team to complain about this. So what can we do? Again, written document is helpful, but a different type of written document. What I ended up doing is I have written up some FAQ, some statement, to help companies communicate and distribute among their internal employees. So it's not public documentation, a support doc or a guide that we actually publish on our website. We actually written up some email to help our customer communicate internally. Simple things to do, but it actually helps prevent escalations. After zooming in to talk about the hurdles that we face rolling out passkey to our enterprise customer, I want to zoom out a little bit. I want to talk about some common tactics that we can do rolling out passkey for our direct consumer and SMB. So I actually have already talked about automation, how to add new UI element instead of removing the existing one to prevent breaking automation testings. I wanted to also talk about UI UX testing. What I meant by UI UX testing is to do some A/B testing to ensure the experience that we rolled out optimized for driving up the adoption rate. In this year's conference, I actually seen a few very interesting sessions to talk about A/B testing. So I'm not going to spend a lot of the time focusing on UI UX testing. But the one takeaway that I do want to highlight is having a fancy UI with many UI elements, like doing animation, is not the way to drive adoption. The way to drive adoption is actually have a simple UI to reduce the cognitive load and drive home the simple message to customers to show them the value of passkey. And that value is not security. I know when we're thinking about passkey, we think about security a lot, and in our mind, that's the most critical value. But to customers, to users, the thing they care the most is actually convenience and faster to log in. And that's the message we tested the best. So instead of having a fancy UI, doing expensive animation, you just have to have one simple message on your screen, drive home the value. This is how you log in with a faster and more convenient way. And that's how we got to double our adoption within DocuSign for passkey. The next thing that I want to talk about is feature rollout. It's not just about how do you ram the feature across millions and millions of users. It's also about where do you put your promote message and how do you put your promo message. Passkey as a login feature, organically, we put some of our promo message as part of the login flow. But, and this is something I actually learned from the Amazon sessions this year, you will get a way better adoption result if you put the promo message as part of the account recovery flow. After you are done with setting your password, going through the hurdle to figure out what is the answer to your security questions, probably something that you made up a while ago, you will be tired of your password. And that is actually the perfect moment to socialize the benefit of passkey and prompt user to set up a passkey for future uses. Now, after we talk about all the consideration, work that we have to put in to roll out passkey and to build passkey, let's talk about the benefit that we will get. What is our return on our investment? So as product manager, we like to set OKR for everything that we do. One thing that we need to remember when it comes to passkey is some of the impact that we will see, they come from some of the lagging indicators. So we need to pay attention to some of the benefit that we'll get a few months after we rolled out passkey. So then we'll be able to tell the complete story about the benefits we get by rolling out passkey. So let's actually walk through the timeline together. For the first 2 months of rollout, you will probably start hearing some positive feedback. Right? You can see different things like for adoption rates when you try to roll out passkey in different flows. Right? You can tweak your flow a little bit based on your adoption rate. Like if your adoption rate is low comparing to the industry standard, which FIDO actually have some paper around, like you start thinking about how to adjust different things. That's the things that you do for the first 2 months. In 3 months post rollout, you will start seeing things like improve customer satisfaction level. If you go to your iOS or Android app store, you're probably going to see less complaint about login flow. It's actually very common. If you just go into different apps review, most of them complain about logging. In 3 months, you will likely start seeing a difference for your own app. And then you will start seeing an improvement in your Net Promoter Score as well. Now, in 3 to 4 months, that's when you will start seeing tangible reduction in support costs. A few reasons why that is the case. One, it takes time for people to start adopting passkey. 2 is once passkey kicked in, it takes a little bit, so you don't need to reset passwords so often on a weekly or monthly basis. So this is why this is one of those lagging indicators. And another reason, aside from those direct consumer, for enterprise-grade customers, their password expiration rule is usually within 90 days. So that's why after 3 to 4 months, that's when you were starting to see tangible reduction in support costs. Now that we talk about challenges, benefit for using passkey for the login flow, I want to take one step further. Our team was able to take a platform approach to build back passkey as a service so that it can be reused to unlock other use cases beyond just the login flow. And the first thing that we did is we actually use it as part of the DocuSign ID wallet, which was launched earlier this year, spring 2024, in the European market. DocuSign, we're an e-signature provider. One of the key features that we provide, part of our ecosystem, is we have the capability to, like contract builder, enforce different rules to make signers verify their identities before they actually sign something. For example, maybe it's using two-factor authentication, or it's actual ID verification before they can update or sign a document. So it was an organic expansion for us to start investing in ID wallet. So then you can have a digital way to create, manage, and store users' identity for your future signing ceremony. It's actually also a lot cheaper. IDV today in European market is not, each transaction actually costs quite a lot, especially if you try to deploy with volume. So how does passkey fit into that picture? Let's say Tina from the audience, I actually met Tina during the conference. Let's say Tina, you are about to sign a critical contract for Dashlane, and that requires some sort of ID verification before you can take an action. So what that looks like is you will need to actually hold up your passport or your ID. You will need to use your phone or your laptop, whichever's camera actually meet the requirement for ID verification. And there's going to be another person on the other side of the screen to do manual verification of your ID. It takes usually 5 to 10 minutes to go through the whole process. And after you are done, that's when we start prompting you to create your ID wallet so you can reuse your digital identity. And that's where passkey fit into the picture for European market. For European market to unlock an ID wallet, there are regulations around you must use two-factor, a strong authentication or two-factor authentication. And at that time, if we prompt user to go through the process to create a password, set up your second factor, it's another 5 to 10 minutes. It makes the whole use case less appealing. And a little bit 1991. That's how passkey fit into the picture. At the time that you finish the ID verification, you can use passkey to sign up for a new DocuSign account. And you can also use that passkey to unlock your ID wallet in the future. With that, it provides a seamless way and meets the EU regulation to actually help us unlock more use cases. And when we look at our data, we actually see more success when it comes to ID wallet adoption when users choose to use passkey versus the existing common method of using password plus a second factor. Now, I want to use the final slides to talk about the future of secure logging. This is the final slide. You guys are almost done with me. Thank you for staying for the entire session. For the final slides, I wanted to highlight a few takeaways from our journey with Passkey. The first thing is, we're using Passkey to set a digital foundation, a secure digital foundation for everything that we do within our ecosystem. But that is just the foundation. Passkey as a service, we actually can use it for different use cases, part of different steps in the signing ceremony. We started with ID wallet, but we are exploring if there are any other things that we can use Passkey for. The second thing that I wanted to mention as a key takeaway is we are using Passkey actively to phase out different outdated account recovery methods. Just by driving more users to use Passkey is lowering the need to do password reset. Passkey itself can also be used as a second factor to do account recovery to reset password. And both methods combined, we were able to actually lower our password reset cost by 20%. The last thing that I wanted to say is innovation is a journey. We don't just stop and be like, oh, we have done everything that we have done, and we can move on. That's not the case. This year alone, there were a few very interesting attacks at Microsoft and Snowflake that actually made it to the newspaper. As hackers continue to evolve, we need to continue to evolve as well. And this year at Authenticate, we have actually seen a few announcements when it comes to new features for Passkey, whether it's cross-device syncing or the new credential management API that supports key rotations. Those are the things that we can continue to explore so we can stay ahead of the curve, so then we can be one step ahead from those hackers. Now, I wanted to end the session by saying adopting Passkey has been a win-win for DocuSign and our user. Users get a more secure and seamless way to log in, and for DocuSign, we get to reinforce our trusted brand image, lower support cases, and actually continue to build more interesting features for our customers. With that, I'm going to end the session and open up for Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Yes.
Thank you.
The first question that has come in says, what do the adoption numbers look like for the users that were prompted to create passkeys?
I'm not sure if I can share the exact number, but I would say we started with single digit. And then gradually by changing different ways that we present the feature, we were actually able to get to double digit, somewhat close to the industry standard that FIDO has published.
Okay, great. So if there's any other questions, it's time to submit, or go ahead and go up to the mic.
For users that have opted into passwordless login, do they still have a password?
Today, yes. Today, for all of our user base, they still have a password, but this is something that we're trying to explore. Once we have a better story for account recovery for passkey-only user, then we can start having them delete their passwords.
Do you offer passkey for all users or any rules around it?
That's a great question. So passkey is a free feature for all of our users, but not all of the users will use passkey. Some of our enterprise customers, they have enforced SSO, meaning that for their own employees or employees under their corporate domain, they can only use SSO to log in. So for those users, passkey is not an option. But it is a free feature for all of our users.
And then one question, for those enterprises that are using SSO, are there administrators that sign in to set up that SSO allowed to use passkeys?
So what we have recommended to those customers is always have their admin to be set as SSO optional, right? In case anything happened with your SSO flow, you still have another way to log in. And for those admins, we have heavily recommended them to actually opt for passkey instead of other login method. So in case anything happened with SSO, they can still use passkey to get into their account and change their setting and potentially unblock their users if their user is SSO only.
Excellent. We have one other question that's come in. It says, how do you verify or authenticate users securely without password to enroll passkeys the first time?
So let me see if that's a good way to answer this question. So the rules that we have adopted is in order for you to add a proof of your identity, you have to have two other proofs before you can do so. So if you're a password user and if you want to set up passkey, we actually have you verify your email first. So email at DocuSign is the primary factor of your identity. So you will have to first verify your email, put in your password, then you can actually use passkey to log in. Or you can use SSO to log in. That's also what we consider strong auth. Go to your profile, and at your profile, that's where you can set up passkey for your login flow. So we do require you to go through some sort of authentication flow with 2 factors before you can set up passkey.
Excellent. All right, any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your presentation, Sarah. That was excellent.
Thank you.